Welcome everybody to the Outdoor Sports Club. I'm Gilly Sniper 300, and what we have here is an old slightly modified Mossberg 500, and I've had this gun for quite a while. And Mossberg's not necessarily the perfect shotgun, but they're hard to beat for the price. And I've had this for some time. Obviously the stock is not stock, the butt stock is not, and the forend has cracked off. One thing I've noticed, I've taken the, well, let me show you. I tried to sort of rig it up to make it useful, and it actually holds together, but it's kind of dumb looking and annoying. I found that just the metal is less annoying. But that happened some time ago. I've noticed that a lot of Mossberg 500s, at least in my experience, after they get used for a bit, that forend actually splits right down the bottom and falls off. Basically, two of the heavily used Mossberg 500s I know of have done that. Once that happened, I thought, you know, it'll be kind of cool and useful to get a pistol grip collapsible stock. That turned out to not really be true. If you want one of these, that's cool. I don't really recommend it, especially on a 500, because of the location of the safety and the location of the slide release. Okay, when you have one of these, and I apologize for my camera being backwards, that's just simply the best angle that I could get. Your thumb is supposed to be down here. Okay, I can't reach that. There is a guy online that will, if you send all this in, I don't remember what all he needs, but he'll make an extended lever for you, but it has to be custom fit. I don't know what he charges, but people are really happy with it. It's an option. Keep that in mind. I'll try to put a link to the forum where I saw his information, but without that, I literally have to roll that over and hit that, or I will roll it under and hit it with my middle finger. Sometimes I can reach around like that. Not a big deal, but it can be. If you get hung up, if you have a misfire, you know, when you're using this for a home defense gun, you have a one knot go off, you can go ahead and work that, you pull the trigger and work it pretty quick. It'll work, okay? You can work the slide, but there are cases where you might need to be able to hit that a little bit easier. This stock doesn't let you do that. Also, you have to bring a finger up on top and get that into action, get that safety off, and then go ahead and take a grip on your gun the way it's supposed to be. It's not ideal whatsoever. Okay, so just a couple things about the Mossberg 500. Now, like I said, this gun has been used and abused. I got this is one of my first guns, and I went through college with this thing, shooting it a lot. We shot a lot of clay pigeons, we hunted a lot. It has been used and abused. I put this stock on. It's okay, not entirely happy with it because of those reasons and the fact that you can't get on the bead sights with this stock. It's impossible for me to do, and I mean that. Like, if I have the collapsible buttstock extended all the way, I can kind of get close to being on the bead, and I can sight up on something, but it's not easy. So I'm gonna have to do something about that. I have a longer, I bought this Hogue forend, which is actually made for a 7 5/8 or 7 3/4, whatever it is. Slide assembly, pump action slide assembly. This stock, it's interesting because this one's actually longer, but it's made for the shorter slide assembly. You can get a Hogue makes an adapter that will go down in there, and it's longer, and I probably should have bought that instead because it's cheaper, but I went ahead and bought a longer slide assembly. I'm going to try it out, but you have options. Okay, you have options. Think about that. I also have a 20-inch barrel 8-shot tube mag extension on the way. That's actually back ordered, so hopefully that'll get here pretty quick. The purpose of this video, this is just the first part. I'm going to do several parts. This gun has not been cleaned in a while, and my goal is to go ahead and start taking it down, cleaning it, getting it ready to put back together so that I can start using this shotgun again. I haven't used it in a long time because in its current configuration, it doesn't work for really anything. It was supposed to be a versatile shotgun. It doesn't work for anything. Had I left the original stock on it, it would have been fine with whatever barrel length I put on it. Those can be used for bird hunting. A lot of people say that they're not used for it, but I personally know that you can take an 18.5 inch barrel on a Mossberg 500 and you can lay waste to some upland game birds. So first thing is we're going to, take this barrel out, and I'm going to try to do this in screen most of the time where possible, but like I said before, this camera setup that I have right now is not ideal. We're going to take this out. Let's see here. You have to back that slide down a little bit. Taking it apart's actually pretty easy. Putting it back together is the hard part, just so everybody knows. Now, this stock, there's the hole right there, and it comes with a long Allen driver. Getting the original stock on and off is not as easy as getting these off, because the original one had a flat head screw, and it would, like, even with a very long screwdriver, it's hard to know if you're in that groove in the screw. It's very hard to know if you're in there. And this, a lot of times what I'll do, some people may think that this is dumb, I'll put a little wrench on the end of there if I need a little extra torque to get that puppy around. At least until you get it loose enough that you can start spinning that with your hand only. This part on some guns it may not be necessary, but in fact with the original stock it may not be necessary. I'm not really for sure. I don't remember, but with this I have to take this buttstock off to get the trigger group out. Whoops! I knew that was coming. Sorry guys, that was a no-no. I knew that was going to happen, but I didn't, like I said, it's been used and abused. Alright, now, this is where it gets kind of fun because it's actually pretty easy. There's this right here, this little pin, that holds your trigger group in, okay, or your trigger assembly, whatever they want to call it. It's pretty easy to pop out. There you go. So here's your trigger assembly. And then things actually just start coming out. So here's your little shell interrupter, I believe is what they call those. I meant to look up all the parts to get the exact names of them down, but there's two of those, one on one side and one on the other, and those sort of work in, they kind of pop out. One's like, I think they'd work like this. There's claws on the end of them, and as the slide moves back and forth, they kind of do a little thing. They do a little dance, and they make the shells come out of the magazine tube one at a time. And they interact with your lift gate, whatever that's called. I can't remember the actual term for that, but your little lifter thing, they interact with that to get the shells in properly. Now, you have a bolt carrier kind of thing. I don't know exactly what the terminology is, but you've got that, and then you've got the bolt itself, which I just threw out the front of the receiver. Without your barrel on, it can slide out this hole right here, and it'll actually, I put it back in that hole. That may not be the proper way to put it in, but that's where I'll actually put it in. That's the easiest way, and I'll show you on lining these up once you get your everything in there except for these two parts. Well, you'll put, yeah, anyway, I'll show when we put it back together. Okay, so this just slides right out, and that's an assembly. That's your slide assembly. I'm going to replace that. I'm going to go ahead and keep this just because I like to have options. And then this little doohickey right here, it actually has sort of a self-spring kind of an action. This is one side of it. that's the other. That's where it pivots on that point. You just squeeze it gently. Doesn't take a lot. Get it out both sides, and it's kind of hung up there. And you pull it out. That's it. Now, I have tried to get this mag extension tube out already, and I haven't been successful doing that. I need some other tools to do it. So I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to tear anything up. If you get to a point where you're trying to force something, it's better just to stop and reassess and try to get some new tools. It's one thing to drop a part on the table. It's completely different if you're doing it the wrong way and you're putting a pipe wrench on this and you got this in a vise. It might work, but you're gonna scuff stuff up a little bit more than it ought to be scuffed up in normal handling. So I suggest not doing it. Now, you could also unscrew the safety mechanism. I don't know if you can see down in there at all, but there's a little thing that slides in there. You can unscrew that if you need to take that off. And there's also the ejector down in there that you can unscrew. I'm backwards. There. Those are the only other two parts. I'm not going to take those off right now because I don't need to. That's about all there is to it for the moment. As you can see, these are pretty dirty. That part right there has never been cleaned since I've had it. I have had it for roughly 11 years. It's never been cleaned. I have cleaned the sides of the bolt, but I've never gotten down in there and gotten any of that cleaned. I've never taken it apart before the other day when I was just messing around with it. So it's very, very much due for a cleaning. And you can go ahead and break some of this stuff down, but I'm not going to. Alright, so that's about it. I'm gonna, like I said, this is a multi-part video. I will probably go ahead and show some reassembly. Hopefully after I get the other barrel and magazine tube. If I don't get that anytime soon, I'll go ahead and reassemble this stuff with the new fore end on once I get that. So appreciate everybody watching, and have a good one. Stay safe.